Hello and welcome to the International Pentagon Challenge. My name is Kyanite and together we'll be embarking on a very special Football Manager journey where we'll aim to try and win every major international competition in all 5 continents, forcing our hand to play with hundreds of different types of players and most importantly hopefully create loads of awesome different types of tactics along the way. Once that's complete, only then are we allowed to set our sights on the biggest of all goals, the FIFA World Cup. How many nations will we have to manage until we work our way to the top? How many dodgy names will we have to pronounce along the way? So hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hopefully we're going to have a lot of fun along the way. Okay, hello everyone and welcome to episode 48 of the International Pentagon Challenge. So, if you've not seen the last episode, go and watch the last episode now. Otherwise, spoiler alert. So, yeah, go into my profile. As we can see, we finally have our first piece of silverware. Shout out to everyone who nicely congratulated me in the comments of the last video. I can't remember specific names, but you know who you are. And as we can see, our attributes are starting to slowly but surely get there as well, along with our ability to speak different languages. So apparently we are fluent in Portuguese as a result of managing Angola for a while. We know basic Korean and basic Japanese, which is pretty cool. Obviously, as we progress, we're no longer going to be managing Japan or in Asia in general, unless we find that in order to win the World Cup at the end, we have to manage an Asian side, we can do. Yeah, so that knowledge that we have of Japan will probably slowly but surely decrease. We've almost reached 100 games managed, and I think it's safe to say that a win percentage of 73% and a goal difference of 158 is pretty impressive. Only 12 games lost throughout my managerial career within this journeyman so far, out of 97 games played. Now, a lot of those games will, of course, be international friendlies, but games are games, and I never really tend to schedule easy friendlies. But the real question now is, now that we've conquered Asia by winning the Asian Cup with Japan, where are we going next? And I did kind of mention that I didn't want to go back to Europe, and coincidentally as well, the African Cup of Nations at this point, or something along them lines, has just concluded. And I did mention that I would like to go back to Africa because I feel like we have unfinished business in Africa after what happened with Angola. And I've been offered 4 different jobs. So, Egypt want me for £18,250 per week. The Ivory Coast want me for £4,000 per week. Morocco want me for £8,750 per week. And South Africa want me on a wage of £11,750 per week. Now, obviously, normally you tend to go to the highest wage on offer. And even though I do think we are going to go to the highest wage on offer in this scenario, simply because I feel like Egypt is the best of these nations, let's take a quick look at each one. So South Africa, surprisingly, very surprisingly, are ranked 14th in the world. But I think we know by now that FIFA World Rankings don't really mean much. You can look at some of their better players, and generally speaking, I don't want to look at players in too much detail because it can be misleading. I find the best way to kind of deduce conclusions of players in this kind of way is to just look at their values. So as we can see, Sandile Motawana looks unbelievable. 26 years old, valued at £54 million for South Africa. Grant Margman, £39 million. Thulani Mdluli, £20.5 million. So some very, very good players within this South Africa side. We know, I think that they qualified for the World Cup. Yes, and they even made it to the second round before losing to Nigeria. That's where we managed England, of course. So South Africa will be a tough one to turn down. As for Morocco, they're not doing too badly. Ashraf is still alive. We've played him a few times in the past. Taking a look at their national team, obviously some half-decent players among their ranks. This lad plays for AC Milan, 33rd in the world. Next, Ivory Coast, who are 15th in the world. Their best player plays for Burnley, so I kind of immediately had to turn down this job offer being a Blackburn fan. But yeah, take a quick look at their players. Again, some highly valued players, and despite the fact that they're ranked 15th, I felt like a lot of their better players are still real life players, like 29, 26 and whatnot. And yeah, they're going to be getting on a little bit, and I kind of want a young, energized team that I can kind of take under my belt, take to the next African Cup of Nations, and then go from there with. And then, of course, Egypt, and they're ranked 22nd in the world, but obviously you guys will know that Egypt are kind of a nation I'd be really fond of managing. I kind of made that clear when we played the Egyptian under-21s, when I managed DR Congo under-21s in my first job, because I know how good Egyptian regens are in this game, and we've kind of seen that in real life as well, as kind of amazing players have begun to emerge from Egypt in recent years. Now we look at some of their better players. We've got Mohamed Kamel, who plays as a centre-back for Arsenal, valued at 61 million. Hussein Saeed plays up front. I think we may have faced him once upon a time when we played the Egyptian under-21s over 2 legs. I can't quite remember. He may have even scored, but he now plays for Stoke in the Premier League. So overall, look, these guys, and good old Trezeguet is still around. I wonder if Nedved... Oh, Nedved's actually in the main team, right? Yeah, some of you guys will remember Nedved. But yeah, so, I mean, comparing players from all of these sides, it is really, really tough. And taking a look at some of these South African players, a part of me does kind of feel somewhat tempted to also take the South African job. But I've got to do with what feels right. And for me, with the Egyptians offering the highest wage, as well knowing how many good regens the Egyptians will produce going forwards, I really do feel like Egypt is kind of the job that attracts me the most. So for that reason, we're going to take the Egypt job. And obviously it's going to be a tough one to turn down South Africa. Maybe not Morocco, but the Ivory Coast as well. But for some reason, the Egyptian job just feels right. So there we go. We have been appointed as the new Egyptian manager. Just before we put an end to this quick video, you guys are probably used to it by now. You know, every time we kind of take on a new job, I like to do these kind of quick update videos and take a quick look at our squad depth. So Hussein Saeed, we've already looked at, 26 years old, in his prime really. Really fast player. 17 acceleration, 15 pace, 16 finishing, 14 to 17 composure, scoring somewhat regularly for Stoke within the Premier League. Has also played for Spurs, Wolves and Bournemouth, which, you know, sums up how good of a player he is. His pace also makes him very versatile, can play just behind the striker or down the wings, which is what I like with my forward players. We've got Hani Hassan as well, 24 years old, despite having the hairline of a 40-year-old. Pretty pacey player, okay technically, plays for Schalke 04 up front as well. Seems an okay player, but generally speaking, Hassan obviously plays for Braga in real life, now plays for Burnley. Even though he is scoring somewhat regularly, he's 34 years old and we probably will look to phase him out. So that's it really for strikers. Other than Hussein Saeed, we don't really have any out-and-out strikers, but obviously as time progresses, we will start scouting some of the youth squads and see what we've got going for us there. We've got Adil Ramsey, who looks like a half-decent left winger. I mean, he's not great, but 16 crossing, 12 dribbling, very fast. If you utilise him in the right kind of system, plays in China at the moment, which is quite interesting for an Egyptian. Can be effective without a shadow of a doubt. We've got Saeed, who's probably our best centre midfielder, left-footed, can also play left-back as a left wing-back, looks okay. Trezeguet down the right-hand side, 32 years old, won't be the fastest, but will have very good technical stats. And of course, I think we'll try and put an end to it now. We've already looked at him. Mohamed Kamel, left-only footed, can play kind of as a defensive fullback if we need him to. But as a centre-back, this guy's a beast. Would be nice if he was a little bit taller, but either way, 15 jumping reach should make up for that. Very good physically. 16 heading, 17 marking, 16 tackling. So we're going to obviously be looking to utilise him at the back as well. In terms of what we've got coming up, the African Cup of Nations, which is different to what I said before, so excuse that, has passed, obviously, which means that under Egypt, we're going to basically be trying to qualify for the World Cup. So now that we are managing an African side in the form of Egypt, the kind of plan for us is going to be to manage at the next World Cup if we can qualify for it, and then obviously focus on winning the African Cup of Nations. So I do imagine if we don't get sacked after failing to qualify for the World Cup with Egypt or getting knocked out from the World Cup with Egypt, our main goal going forwards from this point onwards is going to be to try and win the African Cup of Nations with Egypt, unless, of course, we get sacked, and then we might end up in a different continent altogether. So that is really going to be it for this video. We are now the Egyptian manager. We don't have Mohamed Salah. I'm really intrigued to see whether or not we can bring him in as a member of staff, but I'm not quite sure how he spells his name. I mean, surely he's going to be an Egyptian legend. So if we go into Egypt, can we look at legendary players? We can't click on him. So Mohamed Salah has just retired, which is a shame because I'd love to have, brought him in as a member of staff. If we click on staff, the good news is that we can actually click on our staff. It isn't bugged out the same way Japan was. So that'll help me in terms of trying to make sure we've got some strong coaches and whatnot. Sam Mursi, Wigan player in real life, is our under-23s manager, which is an interesting one. In terms of other names I recognise there, none to be honest, but this is an interesting one. We've got an we have two assistant managers. We have an Egyptian and an Argentinian. I mean, they both look a bit tosh, to be honest. But anyways, that is going to be it for this video. I'm really excited to be managing Egypt. I think, yeah, it's going to be something a little bit different. I've got no idea why our next match is the Egypt B game. As far as I'm concerned, I shouldn't be managing the B team. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Let me know if you think I made the right choice by taking Egypt. Let's hope that it isn't something I end up regretting. But the truth is, this is meant to be a journey, right? So if it ends up being the wrong decision, we can always jump ship later on if we feel like that's the right move. So, without further ado, if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and as always, thanks for watching.